Over the years, stories have been passed down about giants. Some places on the planet have never been properly excavated by archaeologists. This has led some to believe that giants were laid to rest beneath the earth. There are also stories about discoveries of giant graves, and those accounts have never been fully investigated, and they can't be confirmed nor denied. Over 1,000 accounts of 7-foot tall and taller skeletons have reportedly been unearthed from ancient burial sites. This is over a 200-year period in North America. Newspaper accounts, town and county histories, letters and scientific journals have carefully documented this. One such document comes from the New York Times. For over a week, past crowds have been flocking to the site of the unearthed Indian graveyard. This was near Edgewater Avenue in Pleasantville. The first lot of skeletons unearthed was about 1,000 yards from the city post office, and embraced 8 bodies, closely laid together in a deep chamber, snugly packed in with tortoise, oyster and clam shells. It's been suggested that one of the skeletons was that of an Indian chief. Several university specialists went to the scene, and thousands of people were watching them excavate the skeletons. It's not just the New York Times that reported on these alleged giants. Ivan T. Sanderson was a popular and respected zoologist who regularly appeared on television to disperse his wisdom. One of his strangest tales, however, concerned a letter that he'd received from an engineer working on Shemya in the Aleutian Islands in 1940. The Aleutians sit between Alaska and the easternmost part of Russia, and divide the North Pacific and the Bering Sea. They was in the process of building airstrips when they made a bizarre discovery. As they bulldozed hills to flatten the ground, they came across a graveyard of human skulls and leg bones. They were, however, almost 3 times as large as a standard adult. The skulls measured between 56 to 61 centimeters from top to bottom, as opposed to the average of 20 centimeters. Sanderson stated that he received a second letter from another member of the unit that confirmed the first find and corroborated the first letter. Interestingly, both men stated in their notes that the Smithsonian Institution had collected the remains. Sanderson said that not only had the Smithsonian released no data on the find, but they denied that any such relics had ever been in their possession. However, scientists say these claims are not true, suggesting that it wasn't uncommon that every so often a larger than average human was born, suggesting that humans thousands of years ago did grow to 6 to 7 foot, and when you discover these skeletons next to average ones, it gives the illusion of a giant. Every year, thousands of strange creatures are witnessed by humans, and most of the time they can be identified. However, every so often we see things we can't explain. Last year, a resident located in Philadelphia witnessed 8 mysterious creatures in the sky. They came in from the east and was moving really fast. The eyewitness said the following: "I looked out my 3rd floor window and saw around 8 objects fly over my city from west to east. At first from a distance of maybe 1 or 2 miles. After observing these objects, I thought they were soaring birds. For example, vultures and redtails are common, but not that many at once, so they drew my attention. I went back to my work and ended up looking again a few minutes later, and the objects were much closer. Due to them being this much closer, I noticed they were not birds, but were very smooth looking objects and resembled a manta ray or butterfly. The way they flew were very controlled and not just with the wind. They would bank and change altitude, dip and bank again in large loops uncoordinated with each other, but in the same general direction. I ran back inside to grab my camera, but I had to swap lenses, so it took me an extra few seconds to get out to the roof. I was able to snap 2 photos before they flew out of sight. They flew to the east just north of my house. The building that blocked my view is only 5 floors, and I was on the 3rd floor room, so they had to be very low. I went outside and around the block to the north, but I could not see them. I haven't seen anything like this before, and since this happened the strange looking creatures haven't returned. Some suggested the witness could have seen a local cryptid, while others have pointed out the strange wing shape of the creature. One person said the following: "The wings on that thing doesn't look right. I think it might have been a drone, but then I feel like the witness could tell the difference between a living animal and a drone." To my knowledge, there isn't any animal that matches this description. The wings are drawn back a lot and almost connect to the tail. It's bizarre how the witness saw 8 of these creatures. This creature doesn't appear to look like a conventional bird, but it does look aerodynamic. I'm an avid bird watcher and the spade tail and wings don't match any bird I know. Over the years, there have been many stories of the mythical Mothman. Whether you believe it's real or not, dozens of witnesses have come forward with their testimony. Although not all the same, most of the eyewitnesses' statements follow a theme. Because of this, a picture can be painted of the Mothman. The creature is believed to be dark in colour, being either grey, olive green or brown. It's said to stand around 7 feet tall and have the torso of a muscular human. Witnesses suggest it has no discernible facial features, except for its piercing red eyes, which are said to have an almost hypnotic effect on those who witness it. The eyes in 99% of the sightings are described as being bright red. The eyes are also described as being reflective of light, but glowing and much more intense than a normal animal. When in the presence of the creature, eyewitnesses describe a helpless or hypnotizing feeling, such as not being able to run, walk, or in some cases even move. The gaze of the eyes is also described to be the deciding factor for not being able to describe the facial features. When eyewitnesses describe being hypnotized, they describe it as being drawn into the eyes, and everything else becoming a blur of vision. The creature is generally described as having leathery wings like a bat, and has a wingspan of around 10 to 12 feet. Less than 2 years after the first Mothman sighting in America, an odd phenomenon began to be reported in the Highgate area of North London. Ordinary people going about their daily lives suddenly began to report strange and frightening encounters with a tall, dark vampire-like creature. The activity centred on Highgate Cemetery. The British media had a field day with the story, and immediately called the creature a vampire. However, there are those that believe people could have been seeing the Mothman. It's important to remember that in 1976 in Mornan, Cornwall, there was a sighting of a large creature known as Owlman. The first sighting took place on the 17th of April 1976. This was when witnesses started seeing the creature hovering above the church tower. What's interesting to note is that nearly 50 years earlier in London, in the spring of 1922, an enormous bat-like creature was witnessed. The mysterious creature had a wingspan of 6 feet, and was reported flying around a West Drayton church. This was during the night of a full moon. Several eyewitnesses watched the creature dive into the churchyard, where it roamed the tombs. When 2 policemen gave chase into the church cemetery, the creature let out a loud screech, and flew into the air to evade them. Some have linked the Mothman to this encounter. Over the last few weeks, people in Chicago have been left scratching their heads. Many have been seeing what appears to be a giant insect-like humanoid flying over the city. The most recent witness stated that while walking outside they happened to gaze up at the Willis Tower. What caught their eye was a flying humanoid. It was then they realised the flying humanoid was standing on top of the tower. The witness noted the being was approximately 6 to 7 feet tall and had wings. As he watched the being, they jumped off the building, stretched out their wings and began to fly away. As the mysterious being began to fly away, the witness managed to get a slightly closer look at them. They described the wings as being pointed in shape to look similar to a moth's wings. They then went on to say the body was a dark green colour and reminded him of a praying mantis. This is the 17th time that a witness has come forward about this particular unusual sighting in Chicago in the past year. The majority of the sightings have taken place on the lakefront area close to Lake Michigan. All of the witnesses have reported seeing this creature in the evening. The previous witness described the unknown creature as having large bat wings with human-like features. Another witness said the following: "While walking home with my friend, I saw a creature flying high in the sky. I didn't take much notice of it, but as it got lower we could see it was huge. The only way I can describe it is it looked like a giant owl or bat. The wings on this thing look huge, bigger than the average human. I tried to take some photos, but it was late at night and you couldn't make out what was there. After telling some friends, they said it was most probably a bird, but this thing didn't look like a bird. I still have no idea what we witnessed." Due to the insect description, some think it could be Mantis Man. Mantis Man is a bug-like creature that's been reported in New Jersey. This cryptid mostly resembles a praying mantis. The Mantis Man has been sighted near bodies of water. What's odd is that the praying mantis doesn't usually spend their time in water. They usually spend their time on leaves and in the forest. In all of the reports, the Mantis Man doesn't harm anyone. It's likely afraid of the people who encounter it because it seems to always run away when they get close. The police report tells that another person, Mr. Strickler, saw the Mantis Man in a riverbank. He said the following: "I saw something strange a few weeks ago on the river near my home here in New Jersey. I was driving home from the local store, and as I drove near the bridge over the river, I noticed to my left something standing in the river just off the south bank. I slowed the car and looked closer. It wasn't a person, and it was transparent like with a weird shape. It moved slowly towards the bank and into the trees. I drove further so I could see it coming out of the trees. That's the last I saw of it. It was tall, 8 foot or so, and it had long thin arms hanging off of it. The colour was pale brown but I could see through it. The head was small compared to the body. I mentioned it to a co-worker and he gave me the strangest look. We went back to his computer and he brought up the local town's forum of the Mantis Man witness. People claim that the Mantis Man may have been an experiment gone wrong, and someone who couldn't control it set it free near the river. Some think the witnesses could have seen a Mothman. The first recorded Mothman sighting took place on the 12th of November 1966. This was near West Virginia. 5 men were in a cemetery when they saw something they couldn't explain. Lifting off from a nearby tree was a brown-winged creature. The men held to the fact that what lifted off beyond the trees was no bird. It was a humanoid. The creature was sighted in many places across West Virginia and the surrounding states, but the largest number of sightings happened in the old West Virginia Ordnance Works, an area now known by the locals as the TNT area. The area is riddled with abandoned tunnels, most of which have collapsed, been sealed off, or become flooded with water. A wildlife sanctuary now encompasses the area. In 1979, fishermen in the TNT area reported that chemicals had been left to seep into the ponds, causing it to be labelled an environmental disaster. By the year 1983, the TNT area was among the country's most polluted sites. It was here in the TNT area on the 15th of November 1966, 3 days after the first sighting took place, that 2 young couples would encounter this bizarre creature. They were driving through the area around midnight when one of them noticed 2 large glowing red eyes in the darkness. This was beside the Old North power plant. They soon learned that these eyes belonged to something that looked human. The creature was around 7 feet tall and had wings. After stopping the car, the couples inspected the creature. The 4 realised immediately their spectacle was no ordinary bird. The true horror began, however, when the creature spread its wings and pursued them down Highway 62 to the Point Pleasant city limits at speeds exceeding 100 miles per hour. Although this encounter is frightening, some have suggested the descriptions fit the sandhill crane, the second largest American crane, which stands almost as high as a man and has a wingspan of more than 7 feet. These types of sightings sound incredible, but unfortunately no photographs or videos of the creatures have been put forward. This doesn't necessarily discredit the sightings themselves, but it makes it much harder to pinpoint what witnesses are seeing. Is this a photo of the elusive Mothman? A woman by the name of Sharon Davis thinks so. She snapped the photograph through a peephole of her apartment. Sharon shared the photo with Clyde Lewis of the Portland, Oregon-based Zero Ground radio show. After contacting him for advice on a creature stalking her home, Clyde suggested that she snap a photo and send it in. Too afraid to actually go outside or even look out the window, Sharon grabbed her friend's cell phone, stuck it up to the peephole in the door and snapped this image. It appears to show a very tall humanoid figure standing next to her car. Here's what she had to say about the photo. "The being is boldly and directly looking at me, and is not intimidated by me in the least. It was there all night. It originally was standing at the bumper of my car, and I did take several pictures which shows it was not stationary, but did move to the midsection of the car. She said that when she looked at the mysterious creature, she had a weird feeling come about her. Over the years, many strange photos of creatures have been taken. One such photo is this one, captured by a witness in Florida. The eyewitness said the following: "I was taking pictures of the house and block as I do 2 or 3 times a year. I do this because I like to see how the house and shrubs change. As I was taking the pictures, I noticed one picture had clear sky and a strange object in it. The pictures were shot of a high-resolution lens. After looking at the picture, I couldn't figure out what the object was. I don't think it was a buzzard. I don't think they can move or fly that fast. I can't tell the distance or altitude from the picture. The strange creature only appeared in one photo, which I found strange as I was snapping many photos at the same time. This tells me the creature must have been flying very fast. I've shown the picture to some of my friends and they don't seem to know what it is. I don't want to jump to conclusions. It just looks strange. Some have suggested the object in question is not a conventional bird, suggesting that the wings are far too wide to be a native bird. Some have put forward the idea that it looks similar to the mysterious Mothman. Over the last 10 years, many people have come forward with sightings of this elusive creature. Mothman is described as a bipedal winged avian humanoid with owl-like traits. Despite the creature's name, which was given to it by newspapers, he is in no way moth-like. His coloration varies from black-grey to even brown or white, although it usually ranges in the darker colours. The Mothman is usually reported to be around 7 or 8 feet tall, with a wingspan of about 10 to 15 feet or more, plus the ability to fly over 100 miles an hour. Sometimes the Mothman is described as not having a head, but rather having 2 huge red eyes set in the chest. These eyes are reported to be glowing or at least reflective. The details of his face and feet have never been described. Some have suggested this creature appears when bad things are due to happen, while others believe that if Mothman shows itself, something good will happen. Going back to the picture, some think it could be a giant fruit bat. These creatures can have wingspans of over 5 feet. However, these bats mostly reside in caves and forests. So what do you guys think was captured in this photo? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.